The only substance found on the planet whose chemical composition is very close to that of human blood.
If it consumed raw, it has one kind of impact. If it is consumed in cold water, it has another kind of impact. Keeping the blood chemistry in a certain balance, keeping the blood pure will definitely happen.
Wonderful diet for children in terms of enhancing their intellectual capabilities.
In Karnataka, there are certain tribes called Jenukurubas. Jenukurubas means they're honey shepherds. Some time ago, I had the opportunity to live with them for a short while. Their diet is like this. First thing in the morning, one bamboo glass, bamboo shoots sliced off like this. It takes about 3/4 of a liter. 3/4 of a liter of honey in the morning, that's all the diet. You drink 3/4 of a liter of honey in the morning and then you're out in the forest. In a day, easily you walk 30 to 40 kilometers and you climb a minimum of 50 trees and get off up and down the trees. Until evening, there is nothing else. As you harvest honey, whatever comes on your hand, you lick that. So in a day, almost more than a liter and a half honey you're taking in. When you come back in the evening, there is some cereal, usually it's called jola, that's jawar or it's like maize or ragi or something like this. Their main staple diet is honey. And you drink this 3/4 of a liter of honey and whole day you're so active, but there is no hunger, you're just fired up like that. They live on this, they're called honey shepherds. Their diet is honey. Honey is one of the best things that you can consume.
Psychological stability, physical well-being, vitality, all these things can be greatly enhanced simply consuming daily honey.
Honey is the only substance found on the planet whose chemical composition is very close to that of human blood. If you change a few things, it's almost like blood. Daily consumption of honey can do a lot for your health, especially people who have excess mucus problems. It's very good for your heart, it's good for your brains, it keeps your mind alert, and it's highly energetic. So daily consumption of honey can do a lot, especially if you have growing children. They must consume honey on a daily basis. It'll do a lot for the development of their intelligence and everything, even the ash god. Ash god and honey together will make a wonderful diet for children in terms of enhancing their intellectual capabilities.
If you cook honey, it'll become poisonous. Honey should not be cooked. I know people are baking it, cooking it in cakes and other things, it's not a good thing to do. Certain part of the honey turns poisonous if you cook it. You should put it in warm water, not in boiling hot water. If you put it in hot water, it sets off a certain kind of enzymes, behave in a certain way in the honey that it tends to take away weight from the body. If you put it in cold water, it behaves in a different way and accordingly it adds weight to the body. It is not that a few spoons of honey that you're taking is putting weight to your body. It is just that it sets off a certain reaction in your system that your absorption rate is such that you tend to gain weight.
So, honey, it has different types of impacts on the system. If it consumed raw, it has one kind of impact. If it is consumed in cold water, it has another kind of impact. If it is consumed in warm water, it's a different kind of impact. We want to consume it in warm water here because we want the system to open up. If you want to integrate the system just for health, somebody is feeling anemic. Anemia means on one level the blood has lost its iron, that means you lost your steel, okay? you lost the strength in the body, you'll feel exhausted, simply exhausted for nothing. Because once the necessary iron is not there, your ability to carry oxygen through the body is less. That means your body, your heart, your brain, everything will be on a lower level of function because you don't have enough oxygen. So, to take care of this, one of the simple things is you consume a little bit of honey in warm water on a daily basis, and you will see slowly the RBC content will go up. If there's more oxygen in the blood, suddenly you feel a burst of energy, suddenly everything is active, the rejuvenation system in the body is going up, the dead cells are being replaced quickly. The level of inertia that you feel in the body is much lower, the level of inertia that you feel in your mind is much lower. So consuming honey will bring a certain balance to the circulatory system, which is very, very essential for a yoga practitioner because you're pushing the body in certain ways. So keeping the blood chemistry in a certain balance, keeping the blood pure will definitely happen with a regular consumption of honey, and it's very necessary for someone who practices yoga. And turmeric also does similar things, it purifies the blood and it brings a certain translucence to your energies. Turmeric is one substance which not only works on the physiology, it also works on the energy system, and it is also true with honey that it also has impact on your energy system. Honey makes you more vibrant. Turmeric kind of calms you and keeps you easy. Morning you're having a little bit of honey, neem and turmeric. So consumption of neem and turmeric with a mildly laced honey water, it should be very mild. Mildly laced honey water together acts as a wonderful way of cleansing the system, dilating the system, that when you do sadhana, one thing it brings flexibility to the muscles. Another thing is because the dilation brings flexibility to the muscle, and that flexibility, as a consequence, becomes a way that you slowly build the system into a more powerful possibility. If you want to bring a new level of flexibility, one thing is, lot of toxicity has to go from the system. If you just go on water diet or honey and water diet, which will keep you energetic enough, if you are not already bone thin, if you can afford to use a little bit of weight, if you put honey, you won't lose weight also. If you add enough honey or you take spoonfuls of honey, you won't lose weight. If you do this for 7-8 days, the amount of toxicity that you expel from the body is tremendous. If you do this, then you see suddenly you find your body is so much more flexible. Just experiment, don't believe all this. So, honey plays an important role. People who are doing yogic practice, it is good to consume honey.
नमस्कार। यह भौतिक दुनिया विपरीत चीजों से बनी है। स्त्री और पुरुष, यिन और यांग, ईडा और पिंगाला, शिव और शक्ति, दायां मस्तिष्क और बायां मस्तिष्क, या फिर आप इसे कोई भी नाम दे सकते हैं। इन विपरीत चीजों के मिलन की चाहत, प्रेम, जीत, महत्वाकांक्षा, काम वासना और योग जैसे अनेक रूपों में सामने आ रही है। योग का मतलब है मिलन। योग का सबसे आसान रूप है हाथ जोड़कर नमस्कार करना। नमस्कार करने से हमारे अंदर के विपरीत ध्रुवों में एक तालमेल आ जाता है। अपने हाथों को नमस्कार मुद्रा में जोड़ें और किसी व्यक्ति या वस्तु को प्रेम पूर्वक ध्यान से देखें। 3 से 5 मिनट में आप अपने अंदर एक तालमेल महसूस करेंगे। नमस्कार करके अपने अंदर शांति लाइए। नमस्कार करके अपने अंदर प्रेम लाइए। नमस्कार करके अपने अंदर मेल लाइए। इस अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के अवसर पर आप योग के मिलन को जानें।
हम सब इस नमस्कार रूप में हाथ मिलाकर पूरे विश्व को जोड़े। मैं चाहता हूं इस हाथ जोड़ने के लिए आपकी अंतरात्मा खिले।
So, how to motivate you? See, when your car doesn't start, somebody has to push. Once it gets going, after that we don't have to push it all the way, then it'll go. We can teach you ways. When you start experiencing it as a part of you, it fires you up. You must fall in love with somebody or something. Don't find a somebody, you must fall in love with something. Something means something to you, you will wake up in the morning. Nothing means anything to you, where is the reason to wake up in the morning?
How do you fall in love?
When Shiva wanted to teach yoga to his first disciple, which was his own wife, Parvati, she was very eager to learn the way to enlightenment because she saw him as a glorious being and she wants to become like him. She said, "How? I'm ready to do anything." Shiva said, "No need to do anything, just come sit here on my lap." She hesitated because, "Oh, I don't want to be petted, I want to be enlightened." He said, "Relax, come and sit here." She sat here. He pulled her closer, not out of his needs, to fulfill her need. And he pulled her so closer, 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 closer. And slowly she became a part of him. So there is a dimension of Shiva which we call as Ardhanari, where one half is man, one half is woman. What the imagery is trying to tell you is that it's only by inclusion, it's only by inclusion that life will blossom. If you have to include something into yourself, there must be space, isn't it? If I have to make somebody a part of myself, I have to throw out half of me out, only then. That's why the expression falling in love, not rising in love, okay? Not standing in love, not climbing in love, falling in love, because a part of you has to fall. Only then there will be space for something else or somebody else. If all of you, the whole of you falls down, there'll be enormous space. You can include the whole cosmos as a part of yourself. If at least a part of you falls down, you may fall in love with one more human being or one more aspect of creation. So, we can teach you ways to empty yourself. If a part of you falls down, that empty space has to be filled with something. And that something which is not you, when it becomes a part of you, when you start experiencing it as a part of you, it fires you up. Because right now, what you think is me is not you, just a bundle of thoughts, emotions, ideas and prejudices, isn't it? That's not you. So what is you has not come into experience. So how to motivate you? When you're not yet, how to get you going? You're not yet. Right now, all that is there is a bundle of thoughts, a cloud of thoughts and emotions and all kinds of stuff, isn't it? So that's why the sadhana. You must come and do some sadhana. Initially, somebody will motivate you. See, when your car doesn't start, somebody has to push, okay? Once it gets going, after that, we don't have to push it all the way, then it'll go. So initially, nothing wrong using a little bit of a push, everybody needs a push. There are very few people who can propel themselves from step one. Most others need push, often on a little kick here and there. The rest they will do.
To those 54% of physicians who are burned out, what would you say to them?
Particularly in a profession like this, where it's a question of life and death for somebody else. 7 days of the week, 20 hours a day, 365 days, this is our schedule. You will not see me burned out. Maybe I'll die of exhaustion one day, but definitely not of burnout.
A big study came out. 54% of physicians in America meet criteria for burnout. And nurses are in the same boat. And you're here at a medical school, and we're looking for answers, and we're looking for hope. And so, to those 54% of physicians who are burned out, and the nurses and PAs and nurse practitioners, all of us in healthcare, what would you say to them?
If we have to bring health, either to ourselves or to others, one fundamental thing is you bring a very profound sense of wholeness into you. The various dimensions of life that we are, all of it is in sync and functioning well. It's sad to hear that physicians are in a state of burnout. How would they cause health? They could sell more medicine, but they cannot cause health if they are in a state of burnout. Now we're seeing, as modern medicine progresses, comes out with miracle after miracle, research, all kinds of things. But people are not getting healthy. More people are getting sick than ever before. A country like United States, which is the most affluent country on the planet, which essentially means you have a choice of nourishments. Every human being has a choice of nourishment. Most of the ailment that you see in other parts of the world are nourishment related in some way, because the needed nourishment is not there at the right time for a whole lot of people on this planet. But in a country where there is a choice of nourishment, I would say an excessive choice of nourishment, the nation is spending $3 trillion on healthcare. This is bigger than the budgets of major nations in the world. India's economy is around $3 trillion. You're spending that much on healthcare of 250,000 people. This shows somewhere we have missed health. Maybe we have an industry going, but we have missed health. Well, we can explain it in so many ways, but doctors being under burnout, I see this in every profession. Everybody thinks their profession is the most difficult one. If any individual human being is creating something that they really care for, there would be never any kind of burnout. Myself, and a whole lot of people around me. We are 7 days of the week, 20 hours a day, 365 days. This is our schedule. You will not see me burned out. Maybe sometimes I'll get physically exhausted. Maybe I'll die of exhaustion one day, but definitely not of burnout or boredom. Those two things will never happen to me. Why I'm saying this is, the fundamental reason why this is happening is particularly the physicians, because there are various kinds of professions. But particularly when people go to a doctor, in some way they're placing their life in his hands. So when somebody is willing to place their life in your hands, you must treat it as a sacred duty. It's not just a job, it's not just a business. When somebody is willing to place their life in your hands, I'm telling you, even people who live with you, your own wife and children or husband is not willing to place their life in your hands completely. But somebody, an unknown person comes and places his life in your hands, I think it's the greatest privilege that somebody trusts you at that level, that they're willing to trust you with life. You could do right things or wrong things, knowingly or unknowingly, because nobody has figured the human body absolutely, all right? We know it to some extent. So you may do any number of wrong things, but they place their life into your hands. I think traditionally it was said like this in India. In any given society, if education, medicine and spiritual process, if it gets commercialized, that society will go down the drain. I think we are doing this to the entire modern world. All three are becoming commercialized. There is nothing wrong with commerce. Commerce is a transaction of give and take. You give me this, I'll give you that. But there are some things which cannot be handled as just give and take. If you bring this aspect of transaction into spiritual process, into education and into medicine, then it turns ugly, and that ugliness will definitely burn you out one way or the other. Above all, what people are experiencing is burnout is, first of all, they're doing something that they don't care for. If they were genuinely doing something that they truly care for, there would be no burnout. The more opportunity you get to do it, the better it would be, isn't it? Everything is towards a certain end. The joy of doing what you're doing is not there in one's life. This is not just for any one profession, it's for all professions, but particularly in a profession like this, where it's a question of life and death for somebody else. When it's a question of life and death for the person who is sitting in front of you, it can't be a transaction for you. Well, there is a business end to everything, because to make anything sustainable, there has to be a business end to it. We are not against the business end of it, but within yourself, if you don't do it as a great offering to the person who is sitting in front of you, of course they will pay their fee, but within yourself, if you're not like this, definitely you will burn out doing this kind of work. Otherwise, every day, if you helped a person, if in some way you made somebody's life… their life better, by the end of the day, should you be ballooned into a joyful state or should be in a state of burnout at the end of the day? It should not be a burnout. If you genuinely experienced, you have enhanced many lives around you, this is not about service, this is not about ideas of I served this, I did this. No. There is a joy within a human being when they're able to touch another life. Why you are holding a few people dear to you as family is because you believe you can touch their life in some way. You can make a difference. That is what is most important for a human being. In every activity that we perform, whatever the nature of the activity, how profoundly we can touch someone else, this is what makes the big difference. If you make a movie, you don't want to make a movie which nobody wants to watch, would you? You want people to watch this movie and come to tears, isn't it? You don't want to build a house that nobody wants to live in. You don't want to cook something that nobody wants to eat. These things you can do only because in some way you are able to touch another life through your activity. This is most fundamental need within the human being. And as a physician, you have a phenomenal opportunity of touching lives like very few other professions can do. And this should not lead to burnout, but this is happening so because we are trying to treat it like a transaction. And the most fundamental thing that we have not understood in this process is that human experience is caused from within, not from outside. Your joy and misery, your pain and pleasure, your agony and ecstasy, even light and darkness right now is happening only within you. It never happens around you. What happens within you? If you try to fix it by fixing what is around you, you will go bonkers in no time. I am surprised why only 54%. Because if you don't understand human experience is caused from within, especially medical professionals who in some way have delved into the nature of human physiology and I believe to some extent the mind, we must know that every aspect of human experience comes from within. And today, modern medicine especially, unlike the traditional medicine, is entirely chemical fixes for everything. So you understand that both health and illness is happening because of chemistry. Joy and misery is a certain chemistry, different types of chemistry. Ecstasy and agony are different types of chemistry. Or in other words, we are a chemical soup. The question is only, are you a great soup or a lousy soup? Now, if I give soup-making ingredients to all of you, do you believe all of you will come with the same kind of soup? You will come with 100 different varieties of soups. So there is something called as the skill of soup making. I can teach you a way of making your chemistry into a blissful chemistry. That means you're blissful by your own nature, not because of something that happened around you. This is exactly what I'm saying. We are giving out a certain instrument of grace. One thing is it has a unique reverberation, another thing is it'll be consecrated here, so this will be a powerful instrument in your life to be accessible to grace of Adi Yogi, for you to soak in the tears of Shiva, tears of ecstasy.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. This question is from Dhananjay from Delhi. I have been participating in the Mahashivratri festival at the ashram for the last 3 years, but this year I am unable to come because of the pandemic. Can you please guide me on how I can receive the grace of Adi Yogi in 2021 without being in his presence? Is there a tool or sadhana that I can make use of?
Physical presence has its, has its own significance, but if your interest is receiving grace, wherever you are, it's possible. So this time, largely, this Mahashivratri will be largely online. That means you don't have to take the trouble of traveling. We will come to you in so many different ways and please be available. We are giving out a certain instrument of grace. This is a certain consecrated Rudraksh bead. The legend says Rudraksh is actually the tears of Shiva. So Shiva sat in a meditative state for a very long time. Everybody thought he is dead. because he was completely unmoving. It looks like there was no breath, there was no nothing. But off and on, tears of ecstasy dribbled out of his eyes. That was the only sign of life that he showed, that there was an ecstasy that he could not control, which made him absolutely still. At the same time, once in a way, tears of ecstasy dribbled down. These teardrops fell on the planet or on the ground or in the earth and became Rudraksh. That is what Rudra's Aksha means. These are Shiva's teardrops. There are many aspects to this. One thing is it has a unique reverberation. Another thing is it'll be consecrated here, so it'll become an instrument of grace. But it is also symbolism. The idea of wearing Rudraksh, the ascetics always wore Rudraksh because of all the creatures on this planet, from the virus to the bacteria, all the microbes, the worms, insects, plants, trees, birds, animals, none of them can consciously decide whether to reproduce or not. It just happens. If the seed falls out, another sapling rises, that becomes another tree. So, nobody can decide whether to reproduce or not. The only creature who has this power is to hold back the seed and not reproduce but consciously is the human being. I'm saying it is possible. Whether all human beings are capable or not is another matter, because the evolutionary process is a slow process, It's not like on one day, tuck, it's done. It's happening still for some. So Rudraksh bead is symbol of that. The Shiva or the Adi Yogi is represented by this in many ways because this is a symbol of conscious choice, that you decide. The base processes of life, of eating, reproductive nature, sleeping, all these things you decide. Because once you take these things in your hands, your freedom of life is complete. If food, drink, excretion, reproduction and sleep, if these five things come into your hands, conscious hands, it's done, life, everything is free. So, Rudraksh bead represents that dimension, that you have chosen to become a conscious human being. It has its health and other benefits, that's a different matter. But one simple thing that you're telling yourself and everybody is, when I wear Rudraksh, I am a conscious being. I've decided. What is a compulsive activity for every other creature on this planet? For me, it is a conscious process. So, a Rudraksh bead which is consecrated in a certain way, which is… will be on Adi Yogi for some time. Probably we will be giving out a few million Rudraksh, free of cost. It's going to cost us a lot in this, particularly in this, with 2020 behind us, that the foundation is sitting here without any revenue. But we are committed to doing this, or we will make it like pay as you can. People can pay if they wish to pay, otherwise they can take it. Because we do not want to make spiritual aspects related to money. Money is for services, to build the buildings, to provide you lighting, to provide you sound, to provide you all this, money is needed. Spiritual process, they're not paying me anything, do you know this? It's okay because I decided not to make profit in my life. I have a tango going, not a transaction. I have a tango both with Adi Yogi and you, so no transaction. All right? For the spiritual element, there is no transaction. So, this Rudraksh will be coming with a few other things, and these millions of Rudraksh will be mailed, so there is a cost to that.
So when you get the Rudraks, pay as you can, okay? You can pay for yourself, or if you want another 100 people to have these Rudraks, you can pay for them. So this will be available, please make use of this Rudraks, this will be a powerful instrument in your life to be accessible to grace of Adi Yogi. So this is an opportunity, this Mahashivratri, for you to soak in the tears of Shiva, tears of ecstasy, not of misery. I think that you need that from now on in your life, if at all if tears come, they must be tears of love or joy or blissfulness or ecstasy. Tears of anger, tears of frustration, tears of fear, tears of misery, you must ban them. Huh? Hello? No tears of misery, no tears of frustration, no tears of anger, no tears of other kinds of, unpleasant things. Only tears of joy, love and ecstasy, huh?
Namaskaram Sadhguru. There has been an increase in calls on smoker hotline from tobacco smokers trying to quit their habit. Despite their best intention, it is physically very difficult to quit because of their addiction to nicotine. Sadhguru, what are your recommendations for those people in this struggle?
Well, this is not me. The medical experts are saying that the virus, if you get it, smokers die first. That should be a cure. I'm not trying to be cruel to you. I'm not somebody who is moralistic and say you should not smoke. I'm not even looking at it as a moral issue as some people look at it. It's just that doing something that's against your system is senseless. Another thing is, suppose you found some pleasure in that and you're doing it, it's okay, I leave it to you. But the biggest problem for me is that you become compulsive about simple things in life. That is a big problem for me. You smoking, that's not a big issue for me. You're doing something compulsively, this is a big issue, because you're throwing away the evolutionary benefits that this human being has, that he can do everything consciously, but you are choosing to compulsively do something. What you might have picked up as a fad or as a pleasure, as a simple pleasure in your life, you like tobacco, you like to smoke, I'm not coming in the way. All I'm saying is, don't throw away the evolutionary benefit, because this Mother Earth and nature has worked for 1,000,000 years to get you to this level of awareness, consciousness and intelligence, this size of brain. When people are using their brains today to see how to make a car that doesn't smoke, you still smoking, what is that? Once in a way you wanted to smoke because you enjoy that, I will leave that, I will not enter your personal life to that extent. Well, it doesn't make sense, but everything need not make sense, it's okay. But you're compulsive, that, no. Because these millions of years of evolution is just going waste in you, going up in smoke, literally. Now should I give it up, should I give it up? What is there to give up? See, if smoke was coming out of your ears, you should go for treatment, something burning inside. But you're taking it in and you're blowing it out, there is no treatment, you just have to make up your mind. You can only make up your mind because you've seen those Marlboro ads. Because you thought you're a real man only when you smoke. No, I'm not being gender prejudiced, women also can smoke, of course. Oh, what makes you think only men can smoke? No, no, you can also be stupid. Being stupid is not only a man's privilege, everybody has a right. Only thing is, stupidity takes on many forms of hurting various lives. But the most basic form of stupidity is that you choose to hurt this life, though there is physical pain and many other things involved, still you choose to hurt this one. This is not happening by choice. You might have started by choice, but after some time it's just one big compulsion. I want to give it up, I want to give it up. Don't do all this. If you forcefully give it up, you will start doing some other crazy thing. This once happened. Shankaran Pillai one day was just leaving the office and his office colleague, a young woman, asked him, "Can you please drop me home today?" He said yes, like a gentleman. He took her, he opened the door, everything. They were driving. When a lonely stretch of road came, he stopped and suddenly he became like an octopus. That means he had 8 limbs. He was all over her. She pushed him away and said, "You fool, I got into your car thinking you're a decent fellow, what are you doing?" He said, I'm sorry, I quit smoking." So you don't do these things forcefully. If you understand, if you are beginning to understand that we are understanding that a bus which smokes heavily is not good, a car that smokes is not good, but in the evolution of an automobile, they are still in that place where they still have to smoke. Not all of them have become electric. In the evolution of an automobile, still smoke is all right. We are working towards a smokeless one, but still smoke is all right because the evolution of an automobile has still not reached that place where it's totally smokeless. But the evolution of this became very smokeless long time ago. It throws out carbon dioxide, this is its nature. But now you want to inhale carbon monoxide or whatever it is. Well, you just have to see, it's stupid. Once you see something is stupid, you don't have to give it up, it'll go. Right now, you're feeling little… You think it's very smart to do this, especially when you are 14, 15 years of age, when you smoked, you thought you're really doing some great thing. So, whatever your age now, if you understand this is a stupid thing that you're doing, you don't have to give it up, it'll just fall off, because you don't like to be stupid, I know that.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any new content and invite your friends to join us on this learning adventure.